Hello and welcome to another glorious read. I am your host, Aspen Sage. Let's get into it. Welcome to this week's Book Talk podcast. I hope everybody had a fantastic last couple of weeks. I was sick, like really, really sick, to the point where I couldn't even read. So this week's Book Talk podcast is about Convicts Game. I kept calling it Convicts Conviction, and it's not. It's Convicts Game. It's part of the Skeleton Crew series by Jolie Vines. I ate this book up so quickly. It was nice. If you read the previous three, Aaron's Obsession, Connor's Claim, and Rodian's Revenge, then you understand how the system works for the Skeleton Crew, where they run a adult brothel, basically, or sex workers. But they're also a gang. They take out bad people. By bad people, I mean people who do drugs, who are abusers, and everybody who basically has created a sin, even though they run a sin-run place. So Convict was one of the characters or side characters in previous books. He, in the first book, did something no-no. He entered the game and tried to claim Aaron's woman. And then he was beaten for it. And then he was kicked out of the Skeleton Crew. And then he was put undercover to rival a different game. And they left the series off with him saving Rodian's woman by pushing her out of the building, out of a building that was burning. And then they thought he was dead. And they left it off with basically Dixie being one of those side characters, seeing him alive, even though that they were all told that he perished in the fire. So the most of this book is actually Convict coming back to the Skeleton Crew, and he has amnesia. And because he has this amnesia, he can't remember everything. He remembers small amounts, little memories come back. And eventually he does get healed up. Aaron obviously feels bad for what he's done. But they start giving little jobs to Convict. And Convict sees this woman who's got herself into a sticky situation, and he knows her from somewhere. And he can't remember where he knows her from. He thinks that she's somebody from her past. Regardless, he becomes obsessed with her, and he wants her. Well, she has gone into this auction for basically her body to be used by other people. She got conned into doing something to get a hold of this Reese Jacobs, and Jacobs has basically entered the game, so they put her in the game. If you don't know what the game is from reading previous book, it's 25 men and 5 women in a closed area, and basically it's a free-for-all to claim a woman. So regardless, Convict is running this game. He sees Mila. Mila is the main character in this game, and he automatically does the one thing that got him kicked out in the first place. And he joins the game to collect Mila for herself. So there's this thing where she's also trying to help her family business after her grandfather died. She's found out that she has a brother. She finds out later in this story that she has a sister. It kind of is the whole idea that Guinevere and Everly and Riot are all related. Basically, same father, different mothers. So she finds out that she also has a sister. My theory, because they didn't cover it in the book, she has a sister named Darcy. My theory is that it's actually Dixie. Because Dixie was in the beginning of the book and then she disappears. Because she suffered something tragic and she just couldn't handle being part of the trade anymore. But they didn't cover that in the book. Regardless. So Convict basically tells Mila that he's going to be devoted to her. He's never going to leave her. He's going to help her with her family situation and find out after her grandfather died why they're closing the business, why they want to shut it down, why all these family members are greedy. He's going to help her get Ryan Jacobs, or Reese Jacobs. So there's a lot that goes on. And of course, all through this, Convict is trying to gain his memory back. And he feels like deep down that he has done something so horrible that he can't remember what it is. He feels like he betrayed his crew. There is a lot of spice in this book, obviously, because of the nature of it. Convict and Mila definitely entwine a lot. They have a lot of sensation play, is the best way I could say. A lot of touching, a lot of blindfold, a lot of using the other senses to get them riled up. Mila falls head over heels for this man, even so she's like, no, this is only a temporary thing. We're going to ride out the 30 days and then we're done. We're not going to continue this because obviously I have to take over my grandfather's business. You have your skeleton crew. She goes, this is only a temporary fix. And he's like, no. I'm going to make you fall in love with me, basically. And he does. So they grow as a couple, and it even comes down to Convict getting arrested and getting tased in the head. He has suffered a skull fracture from the previous books, and that's what caused his memory to lose. And apparently, him being tased in the head somehow jolted all these memories. He finds out that the detective that had told his crew that he was dead is trying to use him as a informant and all the stuff that's happening, and he wants him to basically betray the crew. And Convict has now gained all his memories back, and he's like, absolutely not. And also there's the possibility that Mila's family has been actually trading women, being traffickers. And she's like, absolutely not. I've been part of this company for so long. I know that what we trade. I know what, I've been part of this business. And he's like, well, maybe there's somebody else running something behind the scene that you don't know about. Like they're using your spice industry and all that as a cover up. And she goes, no, that's not possible. And then slowly she starts to go, well, maybe it is. There's also her brother, Kane, who's like, he kind of just gets roped into the skeleton crew. Basically, he gets caught by Salter. Salter is one of the bad guys that's got all this information. And Kane kind of just gets roped in. He's just like, yep, he's like, I don't care. And she's like, are they treating you nice? Are they not being mean to you? He goes, they're people. He goes, they pay. And he's like, I'm just part of the temporary deal. And then there's Lovely. Lovely is the detective's daughter, and she has become friends with the skeleton crew, and Cassidy and Guinevere and Everly and all that. And she's kind of like their secret informant on the police officers. Even though Aaron, who is the mob boss, has basically the cops already in his back pocket. So as much as you hear about the old characters, you also hear about the new characters. I think possibly Kane has something for Lovery. I also think Tyler may have something for Dixie. There's little subtle hints to it. And considering the next books are about Kane and Tyler, that is where I'm going with this. I love these series, and I know there's a previous series to this. I have not gotten to read, and it's about basically Aaron's adopted family, about the boys, the Scottish boys that you hear about in the first one. One being like a pyromaniac, one being like a head of the household kind of guy. So this book was definitely a nice refresher, especially where you come into Convict. I felt so bad for Convict in the end of the last book, and how he apologized to Guinevere for what he did to her and all that stuff. So to me, he's almost like he's trying to be a Rottweiler, but he's like a golden retriever kind of deal. Like he's very scary on the outside, but with his woman, he's very like cute and trying to be lovable. He's like, all I ever wanted was somebody to love me. Especially when you learn about his past and all that stuff. So there's a lot that goes on. And like I said, it was a good refresher story, especially when Convict lost his memories and slowly he's gaining, even though he's trying to put on a tough guy act going, yeah, I'm fine. He's like, I'm healed up. My leg's fine. The skull healed. He's like, I am completely okay to return to work. And then Aaron like calls him out on it by tricking him, being like, oh, do you remember so-and-so from the fight club that we went to? And he's like, yeah, big guy, what about him? And he goes, I knew it. And the comic's like, uh-oh. And he's like, so how long has your memory been fuzzy and gone? You have amnesia, don't you? And he's like, oh, shit, I've been caught. And then he comes clean. He's like, a while. He's like, I don't remember everything. He's like, Aaron's like, yeah, I kind of figured. And he's like, Shade thought so, and Manny and Tyler. And he was like, you don't hide it very well. And Convict's like, oh. And there's even a point where, because he was in that burning building, his whole arm on one side got burned up, where he couldn't even look at, like, the burn marks. He had to keep it covered. And every time they changed it, it could turn away. And it's, to me, one of those things that I wrote in one of my books about, basically somebody losing a part of their arm, and they actually burnt their arm to cauterize it. And he did it to basically save his own life, but at the same time, he couldn't look at the burn marks either. So it's kind of funny how some authors will have the same train of thought, that something that bad can make an impact, especially if for somebody like me, where I actually lost a very dear friend to me, a childhood friend, in a house fire. And I recalled seeing her mother's arm, because her mother was able to get out and rescued by the fire department, that her arm was all scarred up. And she couldn't look at her arm. Obviously, she lost a child too. So, but on that same like wavelength, poor Convict has to deal not with the idea that he'd done something to his crew, that he had joined a rivalry gang, and he remembered getting the scars across his stomach from the 4 milers. And obviously he suffered, like, not just brain damage, that he couldn't remember anybody, but the fact that he has this now wound that screwed up his tattoos and skeleton crew. Because he even had a moment with Aaron where he's like, yeah, we got these skeleton crew tattoos after we got out of the fighting, and we decided to help each other after my mother and all that. And Convict looks at down at his burnt hand, and he goes, not anymore. He goes, my ink is gone, the skull is gone. And Aaron just looks at him and goes, oh, it's not. It's still there. It's like basically imprinted on your soul. Don't worry about it. But this book was a good refresher, especially where, like I said, Convict coming back to himself and becoming basically the hero of his own story, and especially a hero to Mila. He is such a good boy to her. It's funny to say, because he calls her little gangster all the time. But he's so nice to her and so lovable. It's just funny how he will literally be like, 1 minute going, I'm gonna kill somebody, and then she just touches his arm, and he's like, I will roll over and let you pet my belly. That kind of deal. So this book was really good. I gave it 5 stars. The spice was definitely on the high 4 scale. It's so good. I love the Skeleton Crew. It is definitely one of my favorite reads. I should read the previous series that intertwine, but I can't wait until the next book. And the next book doesn't come out until like January 29th of next year. And I'm like, I'm not going to push, because I have people doing the same for my books. And like I said, I'm making a revision version of book 1 and 2. So it's definitely one of those processes that people are like, hey, emailing me as the author going, where are these books so I can read them? And I'm like, oh, they are no longer available at this moment until the revision is done. But in the meantime, thank you for your support. It's just the idea that you cannot rush an author, because if you rush an author, then the books aren't going to come out as you think. And you have to be courteous to them. And of course, don't forget about the editors. The editors work hard, and the artists that make these covers, and even some people that have their own marketing team have to work hard to get you to realize these books are great. But can't rush the author, because the author has to process things. And even me, knowing these books are written, I go, there's some detail missing, and I'm not satisfied with it, so I have to add this. So regardless, Convicts Game, really good book, 5 stars. Total recommend, but I wouldn't read it right away if you have not read the first books of the Skeleton Crew, or the Body Count series, correction. So read Aaron's Obsession, read Connor's Claim, and then Rodian's Riot, or Revenge, and then definitely Convicts Game, because it's a really good series. And it's not just because they work with sex workers and it has spice in it. It's not all just about that. It literally has such deep story. There's mystery. There's like whodunits, a little bit of detective work going on. So there is a very depth story. The spice is definitely just a bonus, in my opinion. But that is all for I have today. I hope everybody has a fantastic day. Do something nice. I know here the weather is getting cold, so our limited time outside to do less snow activities is coming to an end. I am enjoying the colors currently in the fall with the red and the orange and the yellow. But thank you for everybody for listening in. I appreciate everyone's support and all your views. Remember, you can reach me on most of the platforms, including YouTube. All you have to type in is Glorious Reads, and I should pop up on your YouTube page where you can listen to the videos, or whatever other platform is available that I am on. Thank you as always. You are welcome to comment, email. I hope everybody has a fantastic day. Go do something nice for yourself. Enjoy the day. Go have a nice hot cup of coffee. And I'll catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.